Boy Scout Troop 11 will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Y'all may be seated.
Good evening and welcome to the November 2014 meeting of the Blount County Commission. First of all, let me thank you, Dr. Russell, for sharing with us tonight, taking your time to be here. And let me thank Boy Scout Troop number 11 for presenting the colors. We appreciate you being here. If commissioners would, I would ask you to please register your presence at this time. Commissioner Melton, would you register your presence?
You have 20 present and 1 absent. You have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, and Chairman Moon is unable to be with us here tonight because of a conflict in scheduling. John, would you please roll the emergency announcement?
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
Thank you. First item on the agenda tonight is the setting of the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to set the agenda. Commissioner Carver moves. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner, is that Hedrick or Lewis? Oh, Carter. Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Carter. Now, is there any discussion? The board is clear. If you're in favor of setting the agenda, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no.
You have 20 yeses.
And the agenda is set. Next item is the consent calendar, which you have in front of you, and I believe everything was on the consent calendar before the agenda committee. Commissioner French, hang on. Okay, Commissioner French? Oh, I'm sorry. Does anyone wish anything removed from the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Farmer. Commissioner Monroe had her Villado.
I would like to vote on number 5 separately, please.
Okay, that's your prerogative. So we'll pull number 5 from the consent calendar. Now, Commissioner Farmer, do you?
Yes, sir. Motion to approve consent.
Motion to approve consent by Commissioner Farmer. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner French. If you are in favor of the consent calendar, vote yes. with number 5 off of the consent calendar. If you are opposed, vote no. Commissioner Caskey.
You have 18 yeses and 2 noes.
And the consent calendar is approved. Now we'll take up item 5 on the consent calendar. Is there a motion for item 5?
Motion approved.
Commissioner Farmer, is there a second? Second, or what? Commissioner Melton. Now, is there discussion on item 5? The board is clear. If you wish to approve item 5, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no.
You have 20 yeses.
We have 20 yeses. That item is approved. In the consent calendar was a proclamation honoring Vicki McMurray, and that's sponsored by Commissioner Crow and Commissioner, who's the other one? Hedrick, maybe? Cole, I'm sorry. Commissioner Cole, would y'all like to come up and present that? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fine.
Hello. Mr. Commissioner Cole and myself, we get to stand up here because the person we're honoring tonight is in our district. And, of course, the mayor gets to stand up here because he's the chief executive. I'm extra glad to get to present this resolution tonight. I'm extra glad for 2 reasons. One reason is I've got to work with this individual for 12 of the past years. The second is, contrary to popular belief, many government workers go above and beyond what they're supposed to do. They seldom get any pay for it, and most of the time get no recognition. Tonight, well, first off, and we can never give everybody who deserves recognition. But tonight, we get to give one person recognition who deserves that recognition. So I'm excited about that. Ms. McMurray, will you come up here, please? Right here, I guess. We're getting ready to show appreciation with this resolution. It's written in legislative language, and my reading probably is a little nasal, and it's hard to understand sometimes. So I want to make sure you understand why she's getting this resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and then I'll read it to you. Your chances are better hearing me just tell you. First reason she's getting it is because Miss McMurray has won lots of awards for Blount County. This past summer she won awards, but that's not the only award. She's won lots of awards for Blount County. She's worked for Blount County for the past 27 years, going way above and beyond the call of duty. It doesn't say it on this resolution, but I want to throw this in here because I got to know this. Not only does she go above and beyond her job, but she watches out for her co-workers. She watches out for people in the community. And if there's a need, if a house burns down, if there's a sickness, if someone's trying to pass a test, she'll be the first lady in line, and you better get out of her way because she's going to help somebody. Now we get to read the resolution. The County of Blount, State of Tennessee, proclamation. Whereas the Tennessee School Nutrition Association promotes high standards for child nutrition and school community programs with an emphasis on nutritionally adequate meals that are appealing to children. And whereas one of the awards granted annually by the Tennessee School Nutrition Association is the Health Now Award, and whereas the 2014 Health Now Award was presented to Vicki McMurray, Carpenter's Middle School cafeteria manager, for a project focusing on the increase in daily intake of whole grain products, vegetables, and fruits. And whereas since the beginning, the cafeteria manager at Carpenter's Middle School, Vicki McMurray, has won numerous awards for child nutrition and community programs, including the Best Practice Award, Louise Sublett Award, the Thelma Flanagan Award, and in 2003 was awarded a $500 grant from the Southeast United Dairy Industry Association for piloting the breakfast in the classroom. And whereas Vicki McMurray has been a dedicated employee of Blount County government for the past 27 years, having served as an employee of Blount County Sheriff's Office in the medical department, and also working for many years as a cafeteria manager at Carpenter's Middle School. And whereas Miss Vicki will be retiring from her position at Carpenter's Middle School on December 31st, 2014, and whereas the Blount County Board of Commission feels it fitting to give their appreciation to Vicki McMurray for her many achievements and outstanding services to the citizens of Blount County, including the thousands of children she has encouraged and educated through creative ways to eat healthier and more nutritiously. Now, therefore, the Blount County Board of Commissioners, meeting in regular session on this 20th day in November 2014, hereby proclaim that the service and many achievements of Vicki McMurray are sincerely appreciated and hereby recognized and honored.
We also approved on the consent calendar a presentation from Mayor Bickers. Mayor, would you come forward, please? We'll let all these folks, unless you want to stay with us. Oh, it's your birthday, okay. I assume that's all family, I guess.
Steve, you want me up here?
Now, you can
This will
just
work
stay
right
there.
here.
That'd be fine.
Thank you. Let me thank the commission for letting me have a few minutes of your busy time. But as many of you know, the town of Louisville's Oktoberfest Festival is geared at supporting nonprofits and the children of not just our community, but the county. And we've also been committed to making that an admission-free event. Now, to make that happen, we have to have financial support from our community. And we were so blessed this year that we had tremendous financial support individually from virtually every member of this commission. And we thought, given the support of this commission as well as numerous other people involved in the county government, that it would be appropriate for us to share with you some of the results of our festival. Because every year we focus, if we have some money left over after we pay the local bands and we get everything and pay for the porta potties, that we try to distribute that to some of the organizations in the county that focus on helping children, particularly children in need. And this year we were able to do that. And so I appreciate the opportunity for me to let you all see where some of the money that you all helped provide to us to make this event possible, where it went, so you all could share with us some of the benefits of that money and you all could see the success that you enabled us to have. The first organization that I want to make a donation to is FOP Lodge Number 9. As I suspect all of you know, one of their focuses this time of year is the Shop with a Cop program. It's a wonderful program which enables children of need in this community to have a better Christmas than they would not otherwise have. And these folks have helped us. They helped us, including the various law enforcement organizations and the Sheriff's Department in particular, with traffic and other things, and really help us with the kids' fishing tournament. And so in recognition of that, I think Buddy Kemper, are you here? Hey, Buddy. We were able to make a donation of $1,000 to the Shop with a Cop program. Thank you for your help. The next organization we would like to recognize and maybe tell you about is, I bet some of you didn't know the University of Tennessee has a fishing team. We learned about that, and part of what these young men do, and there's actually some of the high schools have one, but part of what they do is not just compete, but they also want to reach out in the community and to expand the availability of fishing to children who might never have that opportunity. And we had lots and lots of kids who were able to enjoy fishing for the first time at our fishing tournament. And I got to see the smiles and grins on their faces and to hear the tales. And even at a young age, they tell great fishing tales about their fishing prowess. And the girl that won it was about this tall, and she caught a fish that was about this tall. But the UT fishing team spent all day with us on Saturday, working with these children, untangling countless knots and tangled lines. We didn't have the first hook injury because of their help. So we would like to recognize them and make a $500 donation to them to further assist them in their efforts to promote fishing in the community. The next donation that we have goes to another organization that we feel does a wonderful job, particularly giving children of need in this community the tools they need for success, and that's the Boys and Girls Club. And we thought about how to do that, and as some of you may know, if not most of you, Tom Hatcher is very instrumental through his fundraising to raise money for that organization. So, Tom, if you're here, we would like to make a donation of $500 to go to the Boys and Girls Club. And lastly, we're aware of the efforts, Mr. Farmer is as well, in our schools to try to close the technology gap that our children in our county schools have with some of the other schools in the area. And so when we thought about how we could work to help that, we wanted to recognize the elementary school within our city limits, Middle Settlements Elementary. And so with the hope that this will go to technology to help further provide kids the tools they need for success in the future, we have a $500 donation to the Middle Settlements Elementary School PTO, and I think Principal April Herring is here. Thank you. Again, let me thank you for your support, and let me also ask you to acknowledge someone whose help to me was invaluable. And I know because he hit most of you all up for money, successfully. But that's Jim Henkel, because we couldn't have done this without Jim's help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bookers, and we appreciate the way you've shared the proceeds with all the children and the college students. Thank you very much, and the FOP. The next item on the agenda, if I can catch up here, and I just saw our Executive Director of the Tennessee County Commissioners Association come in. That's Charles Curtis. Maybe at the end of the meeting, if you'd like to share something with us, or do you want to share something now? Or do you have something to share, I should ask?
Mr. Chairman, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Sit down, be quiet, and wait till the meeting's over, that'll suit me.
I tell you what, if you want to go ahead, go ahead. If you just take a couple of minutes.
Just take a couple minutes. Some of you I've met. My name is Charles Curtis, as he said. I started out as a fire chief in my home county and was elected to the county commission and then county executive. Then in '94, I was elected to the legislature. I served 10 terms in the legislature, and now I'm the executive director of the County Commissioners Association. So in reality, I work for you. The main reason I'm here tonight is I want you to know who I am. I want you to feel comfortable calling me. If there's some kind of issue or something I can help you, or I need to dig up some technical information, I would be tickled to death to do that. I'm going to leave some cards. I usually try to get here before the meeting starts, but my cardiologist kept me a little longer than usual. But I'm going to leave these cards here, and I encourage you to get one. It's got all my phone numbers on it, my home phone, my cell number, and my work number. And I've been telling people, if you want to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, you feel that urge, call me. It's not going to make me mad, but my wife will be mad for 3 or 4 days. I guarantee it. But I appreciate the opportunity of appearing before you, and I encourage you to call me if I can help you.
Commissioner, Mr. Curtis, if you would give it to that officer right there.
I will.
And he'll give it to Rhonda, our secretary, and she'll make sure we get them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. I believe you drove all the way from Nashville, I guess, didn't you?
I did, sir.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming. Next item on the agenda is input on items on tonight's agenda. Do I see a hand? Yes, sir. Come forward. Would ask you to give your name and where you live so the commissioners will know if you live in their district. Oh, let me get the mic on here.
I'm Keith Miller, and I live in District 4, and I wanted to comment on 2 items. The first one is F2 on the agenda, F2, the Cronus proposal. I'm pleased to see that the matter has been moved forward enough to finally identify who will oversee the project, John Herron. I have at least 2 concerns, however, about this matter at this time. The first of these is that it seems a whole slew of information was thrown in the packet at the last minute, and that does not give the commissioners a chance to digest it or give Blount Countyans a chance to give their input to their commissioners. The second of my concerns is that there seems to be some things that are unclear about the implementation schedule laid out on page 212. My recommendation is that the commission table the matter until the time has been allowed for further study, discussion, and clarification. So those are my comments on F2. On item F4, which is the resolution rescuing $20 million or so from the Wall Street casinos, I have an expert friend that tells me that authorizing $27.5 million is about $1 million too much. The number should be about $26.3 million. So those are my comments, and I thank you very much for your time.
Did I see another hand? Come forward, please. Identify yourself and where you live.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Myers, and I actually live on Maryville College campus. I'm here to talk about F2 as well. So, as I said, my name is Caitlin Myers, and I'm speaking upon behalf of the Maryville College 2015 graduating class. The potential implementation of Chronos is of particular interest to people of my demographic for numerous different reasons. With the intentions of immediately going into the workforce in the Blount County area upon graduating in May of 2015, I have learned to weigh certain criteria when choosing a place of employment. Efficiency, reliability, time management, and industry adaptation are all factors that will influence myself and other graduating students in our choices of where we're going to work. While I think that Blount County is already on the right track by having Chronos on the agenda tonight, it is now imperative for the county to continue through the implementation process of Chronos in order to attract future generations entering into the workforce. As someone interested in working in local government, I found the paper-based system with which the county is currently operating under as less attractive than more developed systems that other organizations, and other local communities are using today. This outdated system simply does not meet the criteria my generation is looking for in a workplace. Overall, I think if the county wants to attract new talent, become more efficient, and keep up with technological advances of other surrounding local governments, Courthouse needs to be implemented as soon as possible. In the words of one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. Thank you all for your time.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda, there are no elections, appointments, or confirmations. There's no unfinished business. Under new business, item 1A, that's the budget training. Let's see. Is there not a resolution on 1A? It's a transfer. Commissioner, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to bring 1A on the floor? The budget transfer, $130,000. I'm sorry, F1A. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Farmer, is there a second? Second, Commissioner Allen. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Daly.
Yes, I just had a question. This is because maintenance of effort, and why is this considered a transfer since it came from the local taxes?
Hang on just a minute, Randy. Mr. Vineyard.
In our process of calculating the maintenance of effort for the highway department, it's a rolling 5-year calculation. Sales tax was underestimated for the current year based on what we received last year, and we had requested that the highway department consider amending the budget by $130,000, which is more representative of the sales tax we would collect in the current budget year, and would not require us then to generate any additional money to satisfy maintenance of effort.
Thank you, Mr. Vineyard. Is that all, Commissioner Daly?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Monroe.
Could you tell me why it was this much, why it was underestimated this much?
At the time the county adopts its budget in June, we still have 2 months of accruals for July and August, and those don't get received until after we've actually collected and closed, after you've already adopted the budget for the new year, so it's 60 days later.
Thank you, Mr. Vineyard. The board is clear. If you are in favor of this transfer, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 20 yeses.
That item is approved. Next item on the agenda is the resolution to amend the highway fund budget. It's resolution 1411-006. And the chair will stand for a motion. Commissioner Carver, is there a second? Where was that? Somebody over there. Who was it? Commissioner Hedrick, I'm sorry. Commissioner Hedrick, second. Now, is there a question? Is there discussion? Board is clear. If you are in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. Catch back up here. Okay.
Got 20 yeses.
That item is approved. Let me get caught up here with where I'm at. Next item on the agenda is the resolution to award an agreement that extends beyond the year or the current fiscal year for Human Resources Payroll Timekeeping Services Solution to Cronus, Inc. That's Resolution 14-11008. Is there a motion? Commissioner French, second Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Archer, let me get your mic on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have, over the last several days, spoken with over 15 different counties and municipalities that are using the Courthouse software program. I'm able to report that the great majority of these folks have had excellent results from this program. And I think it sounds like the direction that we should be going in. However, having said that, they did offer several suggestions and ideas that I don't think anyone else has come up with. And because of that, I'd like to make a motion to perhaps put the vote on this back until the next December 18th meeting so we can have more time to do our due diligence and discuss the project.
Are you making a motion to postpone till the December meeting?
Please.
Is there a second? A second by Commissioner Monroe. There's no discussion on a motion to postpone. So if you are in favor of postponing this, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Mr. Aker?
Yeah, 8 yeses and 12 noes.
That motion to postpone fails. We're back on the original motion. Commissioner Daly?
Yes, thank you. Courthouse may be the best thing and the best idea we have had, but the method used to get it is the bigger issue. In June, a resolution was passed to transfer money from the self-insurance fund to capital funds, and only 2 commissioners questioned this. They were told there were no plans for capital projects. Come July meeting, a resolution was passed with only 4 voting no to negotiate a new tech service from Courthouse. And now the money in capital funds is almost the exact same down payment for Courthouse. There were no plans in June when we were moving money into the capital funds. And come July, there is a plan, a big plan. And we were also told they'd been working on this since February. And in our packet today, there's contact in January with Courthouse. So why was this kept so secret if this is such a good thing to do? And why were we not told the truth? Maybe this is what usually happens in government, but it's not good enough for Blount County. Blount County citizens deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Board is clear. Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some questions.
Who do you wish to address them to? I would suggest Mr. Vineyard or Mr. Herron.
Mr. Herron or Mr. Raymer, either one would be fine.
Okay. Go ahead and ask.
Okay. It says on page 42, question 6, approximately 50% will use the timekeeping system. Why 50% and not 100%?
A large percentage of the employees, and especially in the school department, are teachers. Large percentage, it's not teachers in the county anyway, but a large percentage of our employees are teachers, and teachers are exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act. They're exempt employees, therefore we don't need to have them clock in and out. Also goes for some of the professionals in some of the other offices. You put all that together, it comes at close to 50% of the employees.
So we're not going to have teachers at all? What about the administrators?
Teachers are going to get paid. they only get, but they will have to document their absences, their vacation, well, they don't get vacation, their absences, but they don't have to clock in and out.
What about the administrators?
The administrators are exempt employees. Now, if the school department chooses to, they can make them, for lack of a better term, make them clock in and out. But usually with exempt employees, that's just a waste of time.
So we're going to have about half not clock in then.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
basically.
Question 20. Are you looking for just implementation and training on the cloud-based solution, or are you looking for the contractor to perform the payroll processing and HR functions? The answer says the vendor may provide solutions for either. The county will consider any viable option. Did the county receive quotes for contractor performances and payroll processing and HR functions? If yes, why did the county not pursue these?
I think what you're asking is, did we go out and get separate quotes for the implementation of the system?
It didn't ask for separate quotes. It just was a questionnaire submitted, and the county responded and said that they would look at anything submitted to them and would consider any viable options. So
okay,
did we
you're talking about the RFP. Okay. As far as the RFP goes, the county put out specs and was willing to consider anybody that wanted to respond. We had, I don't remember how many we had, 10 responses, and we evaluated those 10 responses.
Okay, and did we receive quotes for the contractor to perform payroll processing and HR function or not?
Did we receive quotes for just a service? Is that what you're asking?
Well, the question was, are you looking for just implementation and training, or are you also looking for the contractor to perform the payroll processing and HR functions?
Yeah, which would be a service. In other words, did we receive any quotes that just provided a service? I don't think we did. No, we didn't.
So we did not explore that option because we did not receive any quotes for those options.
We are limited in considering what came back from the RFP.
Okay. Did anyone look at any open source HR software?
No, not extensively, no.
Okay.
Is that all, Ms. Monroe? We got others that want to speak.
Well, I have some comments.
Okay, go ahead.
I started out going in to meet with our finance director and with everybody under the assumption that I was willing to consider the HR portion, and then we should, once that was implemented, look at the payroll. In the process of doing so, I came to the opposite conclusion. And when I asked for detailed cost of just the HR, and I asked for a breakdown of savings of the HR that was presented to us versus a savings for the payroll portion, I was given a response from the project manager where he said, quote, "In my judgment, the business case for implementing just the HR piece is not supportable, and I could not recommend the county proceed with just that component." So we have the project manager telling us that he would not recommend that we proceed with the HR component. I just asked if anybody had explored any open source HR software, which is available. And there are lots of options. They may not work for the county. I don't know that. So before we vote on doing the HR portion, I think we should examine our HR options that are available on the market. Furthermore, this body has established an IT committee. This may very well be the largest IT project this county has ever undertaken, and it did not go through the IT committee. I don't see why that didn't happen, why there was not a proper protocol followed, why that didn't go through the IT committee. I don't see why we have not examined open source solutions to see if any of those are viable. There are options out there, and if we exhaust them and determine that they're not the best for Blount County, then so be it. But we have not. We have been given a big contract, and we have been given information from our finance director when he wants us to have it, not when we ask for it. This has been handled completely wrong. There are options out there. Technology is great. Nobody up here is against technology. But the process has not been handled, and we certainly handled properly, and we have certainly not exhausted our options. Before we rush in and spend $2.3 million, we can delay this and look at whether or not there may be a better HR solution. The payroll system may work. It may be great, but we just don't know that at this point, whether or not there is another option for Blount County. Thank you.
I had a few questions based on the memorandum that was written yesterday. One of which is a chart I believe I have seen before that has some dates on it and the particular milestones for the individual components, the workforce HR, workforce timekeeper, and workforce payroll. And the dates across the top of the chart, are these dates firm dates, or are they just a theory? I mean, do we have some sort of status against this schedule, reports that we're due?
Mr. Vineyard or Mr. Herron?
The milestones are in the Gantt chart that's in the packet are dependent upon, first of all, when this body approves the contract, second of all, when we get the contract signed back. If we get this approved tonight and Kronos and the county find something that has a problem with the contract, then we would have to come back, and so all those dates would obviously be reset. So even if you approve it tonight, we may not get the contract signed to the 15th of December. Then obviously those dates would have to move. Those dates are dependent upon the knowledge that Kronos has of what it takes to implement it in our situation. Will that happen positively without fail? There's no way to know. But this is their best guess, because they've done thousands of these installations, and this is what they think it will take for us to get it done.
Any further?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the chart that I'm looking at starts December 1st, which is what you mentioned. So is it safe to assume that if that rolled all the way to whatever month that it started in, that you could roll the other dates for basically a schedule that we could get regular status updates regarding status against schedule?
Yes, sir. And the committee has, well, Mr. Vineyard has a memo in the packet where he has said that you will get monthly updates on this project in your packets.
Okay. And the other question that I had was regarding the training, the project team training. It is my understanding that the points that are listed here are basically dollars, that to train 3 administering navigators is going to cost the county $1,800. How much of this training is already, it may well be here, but we have a lot of information to review. How much of this training is already included in the numbers that we've been given?
All the numbers you see there are included in that total cost.
Okay. And this is not a number of hours for training, but it's till they're trained.
It is, in those courses that are listed there, it is a kind of a classroom setting where they will get trained 5 days, 4 days, depends on the course. In addition to that, there will be people from Courthouse on the site to help us get started. In addition to that, they have a very extensive knowledge pass, which contains videos and tutorials to help us get through. Courthouse doesn't want this to fail any more than we do, so they'll make sure we get trained on it.
I understand. On the last page of this memorandum, there were several end-user training items listed that have unlimited out beside their unit of measure.
Yeah, those are the knowledge pass. Those are computer-based training.
I'm sorry?
It's their knowledge pass. It's their computer-based training.
Yes, sir.
So anyone that's in the system can sign on to their computer-based training and take those courses.
All right. I'm sorry.
Any further?
These are available to them over and over again because
Yes,
they're
sir.
unlimited.
Yeah, and that's a real advantage to have, because when you have turnover, you can just direct people to that. You don't have to hope that they remembered what the code was for such and such, because it's well documented.
Okay. Are the reports that are, if our HR folks are needing a report, for example, if one of the commissioners asked for the number of overtime hours worked by the employees at the jail over the past 3 years, because that's a special report, is that something that a regular user of this will have already been trained to do, or do HR folks have to write things to get a customized report of that nature?
There's 2 sets of reports in the system. There's a set of standard reports that everyone gets. And then they have ad hoc reporting where you can go out and design your own reports. There's also a interface that you can get where you can actually do the OBDC calls and create your own reports, so that all those options are available as far as reports go. So if the HR people need to create that, and I'm not familiar with the system as far as the details of that, but they should be able to do that with their report wizard.
The average HR user, rather than requiring some significant expertise from IT?
We'll see.
All right. The status updates thing that we've committed to do in this memorandum, same memorandum that I'm looking at that you've discussed, we've made a commitment to do that. Can we expect to see those updates, status against schedule, in our monthly packet in these meetings?
Yes, sir. Those will be included in your packet.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, who's that? Mr. Cole, Commissioner Cole?
Yes, I have a question and a comment. First, I'd like to thank John for being the leader of this project. And I guess I'd like to ask if he could give us a commitment. The milestones are good. I think they're a little bit too general, and I'd like to just have a verbal commitment, I guess, that we can try to get a more detailed schedule that we can review. And I think, obviously, we'll need Chrono's input on that because we don't know all the steps of that.
And I think once the project begins, we could nail down some of these things a little more definite. But at this point, it's hard for them to know what shape our data is in. And it's hard for us to know what the system is. So these generalized milestones are probably the best we're going to do until we get probably a month or two into the project. Because like I said, they have no clue what our data is. And I can tell you, I've already looked at some of these spreadsheets, and they need a lot of data we don't have because we don't have a system this robust. So we're going to have to go out and manually get some of this data. So if we get in here and we find that this data is rather difficult for us to come up with, that may push that milestone slightly. We will try to hit these milestones. But at this point, those are just general guidelines.
Maybe one more quick question. So realizing the data is quite bad, I guess if there's delays in those milestones or it takes us longer than expected to get the data into the system, do you know what the impact to the charge? Is there additional charges?
There will not be additional charges unless it gets excessive. Kronos has in conversations agreed that, you know, if this takes 12 months instead of 9 months, they understand that happens sometimes. Now, if we start talking 2 years, that's a different story. Believe me, no one wants this to go 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you. I meant to ask this a while ago, but I couldn't find the page. 78 in our packet. If we're only going to have half the people clocking in, why do we have a license count for 2,800? And if we're going to only have about well, it might not be quite, yeah, it was said half, so about 1,400. Why do we need 200 managers for 1,400 people?
Although they won't be clocking in and out, to record their sick time, their vacation, put in those vacation requests, which is something we can't do now, requires a license in the timekeeper. So that's the reason why that number seems so high. And I forgot the second part, I'm sorry.
Why do we have 200 managers?
200 managers because you take all the schools, someone there has to sign on and make sure that, you know, the payroll has been, all the time clocks have been punched, all the punches have been made, and that everything looks okay before it gets sent over to payroll. So there's people in all the schools, there's cafeteria managers in all the schools, there's clerks in everybody's office, and it adds up to approximately 200 people.
How many machines are we going to have?
How many time clocks are we going to have?
Yeah.
29.
So we need 200 licenses for 29?
But no, the most people will be clocking in and out on their PC.
So if we're going to pay for the licenses, why don't we have the salaried people clock in so we can see how much time they're actually spending at work?
Again, that's a decision that the departments will have to make. I mean,
So
if
it's up to the department.
if the school department wants to get the teachers clock in and out, that's their prerogative.
Okay. Are we going to have a biometric component to this?
Not at this time.
We're not?
No, not at this time.
So they're going to slide a card?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any intention to go to a biometric in the future?
Those are much more expensive.
Yeah, they are.
So, you know, that would have to be addressed at that time. But
So our contract does not implement biometrics?
oh, it can, but those time clocks are more expensive.
So we're not purchasing those at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
The board is clear. If you are in favor of Resolution 1411-008 that approves this item, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Mr. Hedrick and Ms. Daly.
We have 18 yeses and 2 noes.
That item is approved, 18 yeses, 2 noes. Next item on the agenda is the debt service fund balance policy. Resolution 1411-009. The chair will entertain a motion to bring it to the floor. Where was that? Mr. Crowe, is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cole. I've not learned everybody's voice quite yet. Now, where was the second? Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote now. There we go.
We have 19 yeses and 1 abstain.
That item is approved. The next item on the agenda is item number F4, the resolution authorizing issuance of general obligation refunding bonds of Blount County in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $27,500,000. The resolution is item number 1411-007. Is there a motion? Commissioner Crowe. Commissioner Cole. You're nodding at me. Crowe will second it. Okay. So Commissioner Cole moves, Commissioner Crowe seconds. Is there discussion? Commissioner Akerd.
Can we amend this to be the actual amount that we're refinancing instead of an amount above that amount?
Are you making a motion to amend?
I am.
And what is your amendment?
To amend the amount that we're approving to be the amount that we're refinancing.
I believe you would need to give us a specific amount. Do you mind if I call on Mr. Vineyard while you're...
Go for it.
Okay. Mr. Vineyard.
If you don't mind, I'd like to have our bond counsel, Mark Mamontoff from Bass, Berry & Sims, come address the commission on that matter.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Akerd?
Yes, sir.
You withdraw your amendment at this time?
Yes, sir.
At this time. Come up, Mr. Mamontoff.
Good evening. I'm Mark Mamontoff with Bass, Berry & Sims. You really can't know the precise amount that you're paying off because the swap amount, if you're going to terminate the swap, changes daily. So it'll go up and down every day that interest rates go up and down. When we submitted the request to the state for a refunding report, at that point in time, all cost in was roughly $6.95 million. That could go down, up and down within a couple $100,000. As the gentleman mentioned earlier, $6 million, the 27.5 is probably $300,000-$400,000 more than what we expect ultimately will be. But if you don't give some cushion, when you come to price the bonds, we may not be able to fit within it. The way bond pricing works is that some buyers will want to bid at a discount, which will actually increase the principal amount of the bonds. It'll result, but it'll still have the same effect in terms of the amount. In other words, the amount that it costs you will be the same as if they bid the par amount, but for various pricing reasons, they sometimes do that, which ups the principal amount of the bonds. And so you always build in a little bit of headroom in case that in case that's the way they want to bid the bonds in. Yeah, if you want to lower it a little bit, it probably would be fine. 27.5 was being very conservative to give plenty of room that we wouldn't have to come back to you as pricing changes. But it's probably going to be closer to about 27 million or maybe a little bit less than that. But you can't really set a precise amount because of the swap amount changing daily.
Okay. Mr. Akerd?
So can we, is it possible for us to make our limit be set to the amount that it takes to close that on the day that we close that?
Go ahead.
You mind if I address that again?
Go ahead.
The resolution itself says you only can use bond proceeds for really three things. One, to pay off principal and interest on the bonds that we're refinancing, to terminate the swap, and to pay cost of issuance relative to the bonds. So you can't use bond proceeds, for example, for some random thing like a capital project or something. The bond proceeds are inherently limited to what's needed to accomplish what you are authorizing tonight. So if only 25.9 is needed to do it, then that's all that would be issued, not $1 more, because it wouldn't be authorized by the resolution. We couldn't give a legal opinion that would be authorized to use any of the bond proceeds other than for the specific
specific purposes of refinancing your existing debt, terminating the swap, and paying cost of issuance relative to the bonds. So that sort of protection that it wouldn't be used for anything else or issued for more than is absolutely needed is sort of built into the resolution already. Not sort of, it is built into the resolution already.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, I'd like to direct this line to Mr. Vineyard. Randy, in any situation that we have that amortizes this debt, is it correct to assume that the debt service fund would have to be, that there would have to be additional revenues go into the debt service fund to do that?
If your question is, if this resolution is approved, will it require more money go into the debt service fund? Is that
correct? That's correct.
The answer is yes, it will require more money.
Okay. And kind of with that in mind, I am fully for any resolution that puts forth the idea to amortize current debt that is not currently being amortized. So kind of any route that we take that does that, in my opinion, is good. I want to get your opinion on an alternative that might look something like this. If we, and the whole idea is, as I think through all this, I've got some heartburn regarding paying a $6 million penalty, which is 25% of our debt. Kind of with that in mind, I'd like to get your opinion of an alternative that looks like this. If we left the swap in place and didn't incur the $6 million penalty, but what we did do was go ahead and start amortizing the debt presently, taking the principal payment each month and restricting that in debt service fund so that it couldn't be used for anything else. By the time that bond issue came due, we would have enough money reserved to pay that debt off without incurring a $6 million penalty in the process. I'd like to get your idea of that, your opinion at least, of a solution that looks something like that.
Mr. Vineyard?
This piece of debt matures in 2031. So if you were to keep the fundamental structure in place, and I describe fundamental as being variable rate debt, if you keep that in place and it's hedged, and you were generating additional revenue in the debt service fund to amortize the principal over the remaining 17 years of its life, then you would have, if you carry that debt to maturity, you would end up with something approximating the termination fee that will have accumulated in a restricted account in your debt service fund.
Without incurring the $6 million penalty.
Well, you wouldn't be paying it out. You would in essence have it already restricted in the debt service fund. It would never be paid if the debt is held to maturity.
In our current situation, in which we're looking at amortizing the debt currently with the $6 million penalty, the amortization period is what?
17 years. You're not changing you're not shortening nor are you lengthening the term of this piece of debt. What this proposed resolution does is two things. It creates two series of debt, one taxable, and that's to pay off the termination fee, and that would carry a higher interest cost. But this structure contemplates paying that off over the first 6 years so as to minimize our additional cost. And then you're wrapping around those 6 years the amortization of the principal debt that right now is paid in 2030 and 2031. So you are paying that off sooner. And that is what gives benefit to the county of saving interest expense, because you're paying that principal off sooner. Does that address your question?
Yes, and so basically, I think what you're saying is over that 17-year period, it would take 17 years in order to make up the $6 million penalty. If we start principal amortization immediately on the debt as it is.
Under the hypothetical that you've described, yes.
Okay. So what I'm asking, I think, and what I would put out, at least for consideration to this body, is that there is a way to do this without incurring a $6 million penalty on the front end by leaving the current debt structure in place, putting the amortization in place immediately, and putting those principal payments in a reserve in the either debt service fund or a restricted fund, so that when those bonds come due in 2031, that there will be enough money in there to pay them off, having saved $6 million worth of penalty.
You wish to respond?
Well, I'd like to throw this out there because I think it's pertinent to the comments. One, if you were to consider doing something like that, everyone should be aware it's still going to require an increase in revenue.
Either way.
Either way.
Correct.
Two, if you do that, everyone should understand that when we say the current structure, we're talking about variable rate, because if you were to choose to do that, I would still recommend that this body approve a financing structure very similar to what we did a year ago, where we would eliminate the conduit issuer, which is the Blount County Public Building Authority, and then enter into a bank loan through a public process with some other bank. And then everyone needs to understand that that would require us to revisit this issue every 3 to 4 years, or whatever term of bank loan that we accept. So I just want, for full disclosure, everybody to understand that.
And we've been doing that anyway, correct?
We did that a year ago, and we're doing that now with U.S. Bank.
Okay.
Any further, Mr. Lewis?
I think if it's this commission chooses to do so, what I would do is make a motion to postpone this for 30 days, so that in the interim, we can look at this alternative to see if this might be a better way for us to go. It would also give us one more work session in order to get that information, come to the work session, look at both options, and make the best decision, and then be able to approve either motion in December. That's my motion.
I have a motion to postpone. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Carter. If you're in favor of postponing, pardon me? Oh, if you're in favor of postponing this, I don't believe there, parliamentarian, is there discussion allowed? I did not allow it on the other postponement.
I think we can have discussion to postpone.
Okay, the chair will allow it. Who's Commissioner Cole? Commissioner Farmer? Strictly on the motion to postpone, not on anything else. This is as much as an amendment. I've got to discuss whether or not you want to postpone it.
Well, the question I had is, all right, I need to wait.
Okay, go. Commissioner Farmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lewis, you stated 30 days. You're actually meaning postpone until December? Yes. Okay, well then I wanted to clarify, not just strictly 30 days, but postpone it until December.
Commissioner Mr. Vineyard, did you want to? Well, I did have it on there. There we go.
about to go into territory I've not been in before. You have a resolution in front of you that represents a financing plan that we took to the state of Tennessee, and we have included in your packet, and I actually have a revised letter that they sent us approving that plan of financing. I can't give them two options. I can have a conversation with them, but I don't know what kind of reaction I'm going to get to that. I would assume, from a logic standpoint, they don't have an issue with what we did a year ago, since they basically signed off on that. So as long as everybody understands whatever you do, I don't know how the state's going to react. And I'm just saying that.
Commissioner Carter? Carter, me? Or-
Yes.
I was looking at the email that you sent us from the state. So right now, they're in favor of what we're presenting.
They have approved the financing plan that we have submitted them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis.
And Randy, I certainly agree with you. But I guess my question is, when is it that they expect an answer from us, and are they okay to wait until December to get an answer from us? If so, then that gives us time to be able to discuss.
Well, I pressed them to get the letter to you all before the meeting tonight, so we at least have benefit of that input from them. They're the ones that make the rules and give the approval. I can't do that. And, you know, they've got statutes they have to adhere to. I don't necessarily subscribe to the way they write their letters and their approvals, but that's up to them. I don't make those rules. My point is, I don't know what their reaction would be if I have the conversation tomorrow with them, if you all were to approve this postponement. I don't know what their reaction is going to be. We're in uncharted water for them. I can tell you they were keenly interested through the whole 2.5 weeks that they've been deliberating this down there. They have been keenly interested in, am I supportive of this as the chief financial officer for the county, and what's been the temperature of the county commission as I've had discussions with them. And I've kept them abreast of that. And that's all I can do, because I can't predict how you're going to vote.
Go ahead.
They have already approved for us the current structure that we're in. So we wouldn't be changing that at all, which means that we wouldn't require their approval for a plan that says we're going to keep it in place, and internally we're going to start amortizing that debt. Is that correct?
Yes, they have approved that. Tactically, what I'm churning through my mind right now, if you vote to postpone, which is your right, how do I proceed? I go back and say, hypothetically, here's what the commission is considering, because you've not voted on anything other than to postpone in theory. So right now, I was able to represent to them that we had unanimous approval for what they were considering as a financing plan. So tactically, if we come back in December, what do I bring back to you? Do you want another, do we task Mark with drafting another resolution that would handle or accommodate that hypothetical financing, so that you basically have two to consider? Is that what you would want?
And what I would be asking for here is, because I don't know that anybody here has had enough time to consider this idea, and that what this would do is give us time to do that in the work session before the next commission meeting, so that you would have an answer of what to tell the state at our next regular commission meeting. And if we choose to do the route that says we'll leave the swap in place, that they have already approved that anyway, correct?
They have approved what is in front of you.
Okay.
What I'm, and maybe I'm getting too far ahead, but I'm very sensitive to the deadline we have. That's not changing. That's still going to be March 7th. And we're right smack dab in the holiday season.
So part of the question would be, if we make that decision in December, does that give us enough time to do what we need to do prior to the deadline in March.
Yes, sir. Can I recognize Mark? And
Yes,
he's
sir.
done far
Please.
more of these with the state than I have.
Certainly it's your prerogative to postpone tonight, but if you postpone tonight, as Randy said, and then at your next commission meeting, we don't know what, I assume if you have a workshop, I guess we could get a sense of what you want of the workshop. We could draft a new resolution, ask the state for a new report, but they may not be willing to give it to us. They may want to set you to vote this one down before they give us another one. They've not approved a financing structure that leaves the 2030 and 2031 bonds outstanding as they were. They are really pushing counties and cities like you hard to start amortizing your debt when it's balloon debt like this. So we've had very mixed reactions from the state director of local finance's office whether they would approve the same sort of deal they approved for you all last year. I do believe ultimately they would approve it because the swap is there and they realize that it would be very punitive to you not to approve that debt, but we're really going to, you may have to have special meetings if you postpone this to deal with this issue, and for us to be able to be ready to do whatever you all decide you want to do by March the 7th. If you're willing to have special meetings, we can get it done, but it may require not dealing with this in your normal meeting cycle, because if we don't get a final approval in December and are able to go out and get RFPs from banks and get that done, it's really going to be tight. It's already going to be tight now. If you tonight said go get proposals from banks, we want to keep the variable rate debt concept in as the way it is. So we're going to have to work really hard and fast. And the state has been really unpredictable in terms of whether they're going to approve balloon debt. And this is, they were working very hard on this one because it was very unusual, and they sent us 2 reports. One was incorrect and had a sentence that was just wrong, and then they sent us a second one, which I'll be glad to pass around if you decide you want, whether you vote on it or not, you really should have a copy of it. It said in the end of the balloon debt approval that there was present value savings, and there are not present value savings for doing this. There are savings, but not present value savings. So that's important to realize that.
Any further, Mr. Lewis?
Just one, I would hope that the state would be also sensitive to the fact that the county would like to save $6 million in penalties in order to accomplish the same goal, which is to start amortization of the debt, but at the same time...
Hang on, Mr. Lewis. What's going on here tonight? Can an officer inform us what's happening? We need to... Okay. Do we need to evacuate this room?
Yes, sir. For this month. Is that what this is? You know for sure that? Okay. All right. Let me look and see. All right. If you brought it in, it's fine. I brought in the Is it okay? Okay. All right.
Are we clear?
We're good. There's nobody in for the teams, right? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for watching.
No one in this
Thank you, officers, for taking care of us. Mr. Lewis, would you please continue? Or did you have any more?
Well, yeah, but I kind of forgot what it was now.
Well, that's the end of that.
Again, I would simply think the state would be more than willing to consider the fact that the county was trying to save $6 million in fees while accomplishing the same end as they would like us to do. And this is a way possibly to do both of those, save the $6 million and still satisfy the fact that we want to start amortization of that debt immediately. Thank you.
All right. Now, Commissioner, I've got a whole line of people up here. Commissioner Monroe is up next.
I can appreciate Commissioner Lewis's sentiment about it being painful. Debt is painful. But we were finally coming together and about to bite the bullet and move forward. We need to take a lump and move forward. We're trying to consider putting aside money for 17 years so that we can avoid this. Does anybody not reasonably think that government will come along and come up with some sort of excuse to blow that money? In 17 years, this is government we're talking about here, for crying out loud. We're not going to put money in account for 17 years and then magically wave the wand 17 years later and say, it'll be blown before we can count to 3. So please, let's bite the bullet and move forward. We were doing a good thing for the whole community. Let's not blow it now. Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I appreciate Commissioner Monroe's opinion, that is one opinion, and I think we all know what opinions are like. However, I'm intrigued by the fact that we can save $6 million. Now, there are options. We don't have to wait 17 years. There are options that we can explore. There are questions that I have involving this particular method of amortization. Bottom line, first question is whether we approve this plan tonight or next month or January. The motion that's on the floor, it doesn't make any difference. It's already gone to the state. If we don't want to explore the possibility of saving $6 million, we can vote this in. I think our deadline, Randy, you said was March. So it's already been sent to the state, whether we vote it in this month or 3 months from now. We've already got the approval from the state. I'm sure it doesn't make any difference whether it goes in tonight or next month or the month after. Bottom line, I'm intrigued by being able to save the $6 million. And if we can explore all the possibilities, then I think we're just throwing that money in the wind and just letting. I mean, let's talk about saving what we normally talk about. The people of this county. Let's talk about saving money. This is an opportunity to look at an option where we can save $6 million. What is 6.9? Here's an opportunity to save the county some money. We're not pressed to send it tonight. Let's explore the options. If we have to have work sessions, let's have them, but at least let's look at the option anyway.
Mr. Vineyard, did you want to respond?
Well, just to clarify, the March 7 deadline is when the current J.P. Morgan letter expires. But we have to back up to put things in motion to, if the postponement is approved, we still can't dilly-dally around past December, no matter what we do. Right now, we're planning on having, the current advice from PFM is that if you vote for the resolution tonight, we would have a bond offering in January after the holidays, because a lot of your investors will probably close shop during the holidays and it won't have as competitive an opportunity as if we wait until after the first of the year. So I just want to clarify that, just as long as whatever you do doesn't go past December.
Thank you. Let's remember we are talking only about postponement. Commissioner Daly?
Yes, I remember going through a lot of workshops in the last few months on this, and we considered all the other options, and finally we're getting a fixed rate, so I don't see any reason for postponing.
Commissioner Melton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I listened to Mr. French over there, and I totally agree with him. I think if we can save over $6 million in a discussion, and if we have to have call meetings, that's what we're here for, special call meetings, and all. So I'm very much in postponing this. Thank you.
Commissioner Caskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the report that we got today, I'm going to read from it. It says, this type of debt structure, talking about the type of debt structure that we have right now, presents the potential for increasing future costs and a need to unexpectedly refund the loan agreement and make a termination payment for the swap if either the variable rate interest demand obligation structure or the swap were to fail. By terminating the swap and refunding the underlying variable interest rate debt obligation, the county eliminates risk and uncertainty associated with a swap and any future cost increases due to changing market conditions. I don't know why we want to postpone this. We, like Commissioner Daly said, we have talked about this in several meetings. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cole.
Yes, I think everybody's forgetting. I'll ask the question to make sure I'm correct, but is the termination fees negotiable?
Mr. Vineyard, let me get your mic on. There you go. Oh, Mr. Manitoff.
The termination payment in the swap is determined by the legal formula in the swap. It's a mathematical calculation. It's essentially like with the stocks where you have a bid and the ask price. You're basically negotiating between the bid and the ask price. The margin that you're negotiating on is maybe somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. It's nowhere near the sort of significant number that you were talking about. You do typically hire an expert on each side who has access to current market data to determine what the swap termination value should be, but it's formulaic and based on the current market data you do it, and they argue a little bit about what the current market data is, but it's not a material amount that you're arguing about. I mean, it's material to me, but it's not material in terms of whether the transaction makes sense or not.
Any further, Mr. Cole?
Just a comment. My understanding is even in the past 6 months, though, that termination fee has increased, I think, over $500,000.
Yeah, it goes up daily. As interest rates go down, it goes up. As interest rates go up, it goes down. Every day, it's a different number. It's just inherent the way swap termination values work. It's essentially a yield protection clause that protects the swap provider. And so you're exactly right. It goes up and down every day. And you don't really save $6 million. I mean, right now, if you do this transaction in today's current markets, in today's dollars, if you take into account the time value of money, it roughly will cost you $1 million to do this transaction. But in exchange for that $1 million, you're getting rid of variable rate risk, you're getting rid of renewal risk with the banks. So it's a very hard decision. I don't envy you making that decision, but you're essentially paying some money to take some risk off the table is what you're doing right now. Because you're saving some money versus the current fixed swap payment. So that's why it's not a $6 million cost. Right now, it's really $1 million in today's dollars, roughly, is what it's costing you all to if you choose to move forward with this.
Any further?
I guess just a comment, since there's several others. I'm in favor of saving the county money anywhere we can, but I'm very much in favor of moving this forward and getting the fixed rate as quick as possible.
Commissioner Carter.
I truly believe that Cronus is one of the, actually the best system that we can have. Being a representative of one of the lowest income districts, at all we can save $6 million. I cannot oppose putting it off for 30 more days or until the next meeting. That's $6 million. That's my view.
Okay. Commissioner Farmer.
I guess I'm sort of amazed at part of this because $6 million is roughly, 18 cents on the tax rate. If we can put it out 30 days to look at the possibility of not paying a $6 million penalty, I'm certainly in favor of that.
Commissioner Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what we are overlooking or forgetting is the fact that variable rates make the county extremely vulnerable if rates go up. We are at the lowest interest rates we've had in decades, so it's an excellent bet that rates are going to go up, which makes us very vulnerable. As far as the $6 million it's going to cost us to get out of the variable rate and go into a fixed rate, that will be either all or very much of it made up in savings of interest over the period of the new debt. I think we are, the best way to look at this, if you guys want to finance a house, or ladies today, would you go to a variable rate loan when we are at the lowest rates we've ever had? Absolutely not. So why would we put the county in a situation where we are extremely vulnerable if rates go up, and they will? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you.
I have some questions for Mr. Vineyard, please. Do you actually have to take a plan to them if we were to change horses in midstream, or can we, or would we have to have our meetings and then take it to them? And once you took it to them, what's the turnaround? 2-3 weeks, a month? What are we looking at?
Well, that's kind of what I was referencing earlier. We're in uncharted territory. We have a plan in front of them. If you have the postponement, then I would have conversations with them tomorrow, or try to have conversations with them tomorrow. I don't know what reaction I'm going to get from them.
Okay.
They may be receptive to listening to it. I don't know. But they look at it, you just have no real appreciation for what it's like to deal with them. I don't know how to answer the question.
Well, that's why I was asking. I
will
wanted to
have
know.
I will do what this body's bidding is, just like we've done to this point. The bidding of the body was, let's pursue fixed rate financing. We've done that. We've got a response. If the desire is to pursue one more opportunity that's out there, we'll do that as well.
So you could go to them and get the ball rolling without even having anything from us, any direction from us, or do you have to have direction from us?
Well, I'm not going to pretend to be a salesman, but I would assume if the vote was to postpone, that would be an action of this body that I would at least tell them about and tell them the gist of the conversation here.
So you don't have to have anything in writing to take to them?
No, I don't have anything to give them. I mean, I would describe to them what has transpired.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner French.
Mr. Chairman, one final comment and one question. And I understand, as most of the commissioners have said, we have explored this several meetings. The problem that exists now is we haven't explored this particular option. And there are some questions about this particular option that are intriguing to me. And I have a question for Mr. Mamatup. And I can't predict the future. I don't know if rates are going to go up. I don't know if they're going to go down. In your opinion, can we postpone this for 1 month just to look at this particular option to where we might be able to save the county $6 million?
No, I definitely think you can postpone if you choose to do it. I do, again, I wasn't trying to be rude. I do think, though, that March the 7th, if you chose to go with a different option and you want to keep the variable rate in debt in effect, I'm confident that this entire body would want Randy to get you the absolute best variable rate that you can. The way you do that is to get an RFP from banks. They're going to take at least 3 weeks to respond to that. It's going to take us another week or two to negotiate with them to try to fine-tune their terms. And then we then have to bring a resolution back to you all to approve that, and then to close the transaction. You almost certainly are going to have to give us a final decision by no later than the first week of January for us to successfully close this for you all and not to default on your bond payment that comes due on March the 7th. So that's really the outside date that we would have to have a final answer, direction from this body, which direction to go. Ms. Monroe, to answer one question you answered that's relevant to your question is they have 15 days to respond when we submit a new refunding report. They've also told us numerous times they will not give us two competing refunding reports. So in other words, when Randy calls and tells them there's a postponement, they likely will not give us another refunding report based on a variable rate deal until you vote this one down. That's my best guess, that they're going to say, okay, if they vote this one down, we'll hustle and do another one for you. And then so if you all vote down this at your December meeting, I assume it's sometime before Christmas, that then we would then have to hustle, submit another report, and ask you all to meet at the 1st of January to consider your alternative plan. So that's why I was saying you probably would have to have a special meeting, because we really would need direction from you all by the first week of January so that we can succeed in doing this for you all.
Any further, Mr. French?
Call for the question.
I'm sorry, but we have people that have asked for the floor. We cannot use call for the question just to stop debate. Commissioner Lewis?
Again, this scenario, current scenario that we're approved for may very well be the best scenario. And I'm for that scenario or this alternative, because both of those start amortizing the county's debt on this particular piece immediately. It's just a matter of which is the best way to do it. One of those cost us $6 million, one of them doesn't. If we choose to make that decision in December and go with the other, I'm absolutely fine with that. I just wanted a venue so that people would be able to have the information and make that decision before we got committed on the first option. So that's all I've got.
Commissioner Melton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me get this straight. Mr. Lewis, may I ask you a question? Are you, on this proposal and everything, are you still looking at a variable rate?
My thought is to keep the current structure that we have now in place, because if we try to get out of that and put it into any kind of repayment, we've got the $6 million penalty. The only way to avoid the penalties is to keep the current structure in place and internally amortize that debt within the county and put that money in a fund that is restricted.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you.
Commissioner Akerd.
Yes, could I get the gentleman to cover again what he was saying about it not really being $6 million that we would be costing to switch to a fixed rate?
Mr. Manitoff, let's keep this. We've been over this once now, and we're just talking about postponement. Short and sweet, please.
You want me to answer the question? So even though you have variable rate debt, because you have the swap, you effectively have fixed rate debt in the low 4% range. You will lower that interest rate through this fixed rate refunding. So you are going to save money from an interest rate perspective, but you're going to have to borrow more to pay off the swap payment. So the savings in interest rate will largely offset the $6 million termination payment that you're going to, but it's not big enough to offset it completely. So in current market conditions, taking into account the time value of money, and that's really important, it's going to cost you right now roughly $1 million or so, give or take a few $100,000 to essentially buy fixed rate certainty in the market. In fact, if you look at the report, which again, I'll be glad to, I'm going to hand that out right now, is it talks about that you actually have net total savings. In other words, you're paying less interest, but when you take when you take into account the time value of money, this refunding is going to cost you probably around the $1 million range. And Mr. Lewis is absolutely right. You are writing a check for $6 million right here up front. So you would avoid writing that check or making that wire, but you will make up much of that cost through interest savings, but not all of it. Does that help?
And totally eliminate all that risk.
You will eliminate. you really do have a fixed rate now through artificial means. You're eliminating the artificiality of the means. You're eliminating the risk of having to find a new bank every few years. It's not so much variable rate risk you're getting rid of. You're getting rid of the risk of a counterparty to the swap defaulting. You're getting rid of the risk of having to find a new bank every few years. Those are really the big risks that you're getting rid of. Those are meaningful risks. I mean, I'm not trying to minimize those, but you effectively have a fixed rate now through the hedge. It's just not a natural fixed rate, if that makes sense.
For a net cost of approximately $1 million.
Roughly, and again, it changes every single day, but that's right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The county presently has, I believe, around 60% of our debt in variable. The goal is to get it down to 20%. And the reason for that is we are extremely exposed in a variable debt environment. That's why we had this discussion so many times before tonight. Variable rate leaves us in a situation where it's a pretty good bet. Rates are going to go up. We're going to be very vulnerable. I think it makes sense to not go any further than we have, past what we've got on our plate, and stay with the fixed rate that we're ready to vote on. Thank you.
Commissioner Cole.
Quick question, just to clarify what you just said. The $1 million that you're saying it would cost us over the term of it is based on current interest rates, right?
That's correct. If you went to the bond market based right now, that's what it would. And I mean, I don't think anybody thinks rates are going to change dramatically over the next couple of months, but that is if you price the bonds tomorrow, that's roughly what it would be, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Yes, I think the most fiscally responsible thing this committee can do, this commission can do, is to go with a fixed rate. We need to get out of the gambling casino. There's many here in this body that have been in here for years and have passed this debt, have kept this debt.
Commissioner Miller, please confine your comments to the postponement. Thank you. The board is clear if you are in favor of postponing this 1 month to the next meeting. Vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. The vote is whether or not to postpone this consideration for 1 month. Yes, we'll postpone it. No, we'll go back to the original motion. Ms. Miller, okay.
Yeah, 8 yeses and 12 noes.
Noes have it. So we'll go back on the original motion now. Now, the original motion is consideration of Resolution 1411-007. If you are in favor of the original motion, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Monroe. Clear the board. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Vineyard. There's a change in here so that we don't have a increase in this year's budget. What is the problem with paying some extra this year? Why do we have to do that?
I wanted to keep the flexibility for just when we're structuring the transaction.
So we have the money in debt service fund.
We have the debt service fund balance that if this body chose that, you know, if it was in our best interest to prepay something, we could do that in some of the costs even to avoid increasing debt.
So the first resolution that we had would have paid some this year, then we would have immediately started paying.
Technically, the first resolution would have done the same thing. I asked Mark to clarify it to where it was a little more clear that we did not have to pay additional debt service in this fiscal year.
Okay,
and that's what the change was.
So the first resolution was still basically the same. You're just putting precise.
I just tried to make it a little clearer.
Okay, so we still won't be amending this year's budget regardless of whether we pass
That's
the first.
not my plan right now, unless this body wanted to say they didn't want to increase debt anymore and pay all of our expenses associated with the debt offering out of fund balance. just like we did on our last financing.
Okay, and so we will see an increase in debt service fund next year when the Alcoa, the county's portion coming out of Alcoa kicks in, right? We will see the fund balance start to rise next year.
Oh, you're talking about the sales tax.
Yes,
I'm
sales
sorry.
tax.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Yes, we're actually counting on $360,000 in the current year budget.
Okay, so we'll get 360 more
In the
this
current-
year.
In the current year. And then next year, it should be more.
Do you have an idea of what it'll be next year?
Not right now. I mean, we're too early into the fiscal year to know what sales tax is going to do. I mean, sales tax looks good right now, but who
Okay.
knows?
Are we expecting a surplus in this year's debt service?
We put the budget together, we were projecting almost a break even because there was a penny moved out of debt service when the current
Okay.
budget was
So it's even
approved.
Steven roughly
Yes,
this year?
right. Which is
Okay. But we
good
will-
because for 2 years we've consumed fund balance to meet our needs in the debt service.
But next year, we will have the money to go ahead and start paying on principal then. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. If you are in favor of this motion, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Vineyard?
Technically,
Mr.
before
Monaco.
you vote, we need to distribute this letter because the state requires us to deliver, before you vote, to be aware of it. As Mark indicated, I got it to you, I got it this morning, and then I put it in the packet today. This is a revision that I just found out about at 6:05 this evening. And it's what Mark referred to, and I'll have him explain it to you again, related to net present value savings.
I'm sorry, Commissioners, I had no idea. Oh, okay, go ahead, Mr.
Sorry, this was a mistake, and it was an honest mistake that the state made. They emailed us an earlier draft, and it had a paragraph at the very end of the approval of the balloon debt that said that there was net present value savings. That's not accurate. There is actually a net present value cost for you to do this of the roughly $1 million that I have mentioned now several times. So they recognized that they made that mistake. They sent us a revised version, but due to an email glitch, we didn't get that version first. We got the other version first, and so we thought it was the correct one, and that's the one that Randy sent to you. So the only difference is, as far as we can tell, is that the very, very last page where it says approval of balloon indebtedness, there's the first draft that Randy sent you earlier had another paragraph that said there was net present value savings, and they took that out. And so we just, by state law, you have to have the current version before you vote on this resolution. So we want to make sure you have the hot and current version.
Thank you, sir. All right, now, board has been cleared for the third time. If you are in favor of this resolution, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. That item is approved, 20-0. All right, let's move on. The next item is the request to replace portrait of former Commissioner Gordon Wright in the County Commission Room. Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Farmer, is there a second? Commissioner Carver. Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. Sorry, Mr. Clerk, I got ahead of you. Okay. Now it can vote. Okay. Let's see.
There's 19 yeses and 1 no.
That item is approved. The next item is a resolution approving a lease agreement with Eagleton Ballpark. That is 1411-004. Lease has been in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Commissioner Kaler moves. Second, Commissioner French. Now, board is clear. If you are in favor, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Okay, there we go.
15 yeses.
That item is approved. Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving the regulations governing use of county right-of-way, Resolution 141105. Is there a motion? Commissioner Carver, is there a second? Where was that? Commissioner Bowers. Discussion, Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under Section 1, the terms utilities and persons are defined, but the word work is not defined. Persons includes individuals in addition to utilities. The last sentence says the regulations apply to the installation, maintenance, and removal of utilities unless otherwise noted. Unless otherwise noted leaves the door wide open to allow the regulations to apply to anything deemed work, since the first sentence of Section 2 says, except in cases of an emergency as defined herein, persons must obtain a permit from the County Highway Department prior to performing any work within the county right-of-way. The word is frequently used in some cases, such as Section 3. Section 5 requires a $1 million insurance policy to obtain a permit. It's possible that individuals who are defined as persons volunteering their work along the right-of-ways picking up trash could be required to obtain a $1 million insurance policy for their voluntary work. Is someone who digs a hole for a mailbox going to be considered deemed work, since this Section 2 says you have to get a permit to perform any work, and work is not defined? This problem could be fixed by defining the word work. Therefore, I move to amend the resolution to include the following definition after the word appliances in Section 1 as a new sentence that reads, work includes any installation, maintenance, or removal of utilities. Thank you.
Commissioner Monroe has proposed an amendment. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there a second? Pardon my voice. Commissioner Miller. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Lewis.
Mr. Dunlap is here. I'd like to get his take on
Mr. Dunlap, could you come
all
and
that.
comment, please?
According to Mr. Garrett, that last sentence is sufficient for this. It's not going to affect the resolution. It's dealing with utilities, the installation, removal, whatever of utilities. That amendment's not going to hurt it. Down in Section 2, there's another clause in there that he referred to also on the discretion of the Chief Administrative Officer of the Highway Department. That can be handled through the office.
So you're opposed or not opposed to the amendment?
It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter.
Still,
Okay.
everything still covers what needs to be covered.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis.
Has looked at that, and okay, thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Board is clear, and this is on the amendment only. If you are in favor of the amendment, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
We have 15 yeses and 5 noes.
Amendment is passed and is attached to the resolution. Now we're back on the original. The board is clear. If you are in favor of the original motion, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Ms. Miller?
We have 19 yeses and 1 no.
That item is approved. Next item on the agenda is setting a public hearing for December 9th, 2014 at 6 p.m. for 3416 Garner Circle, and December 9th, 2014, 6:15 p.m. for 4252 East Lamar Alexander Parkway. Remember, we are only setting the public hearings. Is there a motion? Wait a minute, I heard it three different places. I had a motion by Commissioner Farmer and a second by Commissioner Carver, is that right? Okay. Now, if you are in favor of setting these public hearings at those times, please, that's both of them, correct, Mr. Farmer?
Yes, sir. A
Yes,
and
sir.
B.
A and B. Please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Ms. Daly, please.
20 yeses.
That item is approved. If you will give me an opportunity to get caught up here, find the state announcements. The announcements, the Animal Center Advisory Board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, November 25th has been canceled. Now, is there anyone who wishes to speak to an item not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. Let me get the mic on. Please give us your name and where you live.
Keith Miller again, District 4. I wanted to address the issue of stuffing the meeting packets to the bursting point at the last minutes before a meeting. I've seen this happen repeatedly, and I recommend that someone offer a resolution that, and at a future meeting, that you add to the meeting packet up to 10 days before a meeting, and after that, nothing, absolutely nothing, will be permitted to be added. This could be fashioned in such a way that its effective date could be, say, 3 or 6 months from now to give people time to adjust to that particular type of schedule. It could also allow for a commissioner in an emergency cases where something had to be considered, for a commissioner to make a motion to add something to the packet that was already there, and it could be taken care of at the meeting itself. And that's all I got to say. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Seeing no other hands, Commissioner Monroe.
When I went to bed last night, we were on version 5 of the packet. When I got up this morning, version 6 was there. I understand some stuff appeared at the last minute, and it's no one's fault, but is there a way that we can improve this? I mean, I'm trying my best to read this stuff, and there's 644 pages now, and I got to run to the computer every couple of hours to see if there's a new version out. I mean, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I want to do a good job, and I tried to read the whole thing, and I still haven't read all 644 pages. I would like to think that I could, but it changes so much, and there's so much in there. Right now, I'm not saying that I have the solutions, but I'm hoping that in the future we can not have quite so many versions. Thank you.
Commissioner, I've been here since 1990, and we've fought that battle every year, and nobody's ever come up with a solution yet. Commissioner Daly.
Yes, I have two things I want to say. First of all, when we were voting on CONUS, I voted no, and then it didn't work, and I ended up pushing the wrong button. And also, I noticed the proposal for the jail study is in our packet, and I hope everybody pays close attention to it, because the inspection is coming up soon, and we have to show that we have been trying to solve the problem of crowding in the prison. And when I was on the website last week, we have 78 federal prisoners, and that doesn't look like we're trying hard enough to make things improve in the jail. Thank you.
It's my understanding, Commissioner Daly, that report was a temporary or partial report or whatever, but they're not through with that yet. Is that correct, Mr. Hedrick? You're the chairman.
No.
Do you wish to say anything?
We are.
Let me find your mic. Oh, yeah, here we go. Go ahead.
We are trying to move forward and get information. Before we have somebody come speak to us, I think since we've only had one meeting, we need to all get on the same page listen to some of our local people, get information, and then move forward. But
Thank you, Commissioner.
trying.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just an announcement. I'd like to remind the commissioners that Hometown Christmas is December 4th. And Miss Rhonda still needs some 2-liter drinks. If some of you that haven't brought anything in would care to bring a couple of 2-liter drinks. Hometown Christmas is, we're here in front of the commission office. We pass out candy to the children of Blount County. They come through. We have cookies. We have drinks for the children. So, and we'd like to see you commissioners there to support this. But that's an announcement. December 4th at 6 o'clock?
7.
6:30.
Okay. Commissioner Carter?
Yes. I'm not sure if this is a time, place, or I don't know if we can do it here or now, but what I would like to do is the American Legion is having a Blount County toy run, and they're coming up short in their funds. And this is for kids that are out in the county that just don't have what a lot of people have. And I want to suggest that we put on the item to donate from county funds somewhere at least $3,000 to the Blount County Toy Run for the American Legion.
Ms. Rhonda can remind us to consider that. Commissioner Cole?
Yes, just one quick statement. The commission has a forum that was designed several years ago, and it's to protect everyone from the sunshine laws. So I highly encourage people to get on there and learn to use that system.
Mr. Daly for the second.
Okay, I appreciate Mr. Carter wanting the county to donate, but I think we have to do that personally. This is the taxpayers' money that we're dealing with. So if you want to donate to charity, that's fine.
All right, we're not going to bring that issue on the floor here tonight. It is not on the agenda, and that is not. The board is clear at this time, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned.